So they were hijacked, and those cameras, they now started the biggest distributed denial of service attack the world has seen so far. And this distributed denial of service attack really was against one major DNS provider in the US, it was done, and as a result, the internet in the US East Coast was nearly down. And now you can say, okay, who cares if the internet is down? Well, I can't watch my Netflix movie, maybe I can't order something on Amazon, I will do it when the internet is back. And that's true. There was no direct harm to people. Really? Think about fuel stations. Fuel stations who are internet connected. Fuel stations who are smart. Fuel stations who report how much fuel have I already sold. Do I need new fuel? Those guys, those smart fuel stations were no longer able to reach out to their backend and say, hey, I'm running out of fuel. All of a sudden, the US East Coast was nearly or was on a way to run out of fuel. And I think this would have happened during hurricane season. All of a sudden, the people would have been trapped. That didn't happen. That's the good news. Because the guys who created the Mirai botnet and attacked the DIN DNS provider, they have done it at a time where they didn't harm the people so much. Let's go further. I told you I will give you 3 examples. That was an example where we can say, yeah, security cameras are no longer security cameras, now they are doing bad stuff. Let's look at something which happened last December. A petrochemical plant in Saudi Arabia was aggressively attacked. This is a headline from the news. And they attacked this energy plant with sophisticated malware, and they intruded the critical safety system of the petrochemical plant. By the way, the system they intruded is also used in nuclear power stations. This system is used in oil and gas plants as well. And the guys who attacked the Saudi Arabian petrochemical plant took remote control over the plant and tried to redevelop, reprogram all the security mechanisms which were in place at the petrochemical plant. Whoa. Some bad guys now have control over a system which is controlling a petrochemical plant. If those guys are doing just one thing not really correct, they blow up the plant and the region is more or less out of business for a couple of decades because it's still a petrochemical plant and the environment will be super poisoned. There will be no human anymore who can live there. Just because data is the new currency and the guys have not protected their data. I think this is really, really critical. And this is something everybody should be more than concerned about. And we already had 2 days of IoT hacking, and we had a lot of fun, especially on my table. Where is my team? Over there, the fun team, the good ones. So we had a lot of fun, but have we thought about security? Not really. Who in the room is already dealing with IoT projects? Just show me a couple of hands. So I see quite a lot of hands. How many of you already thought about the security of your solution? I see no hand. Whoa, that's frightening. Don't you guys think this is frightening? Because I already had today a couple of talks where we talked about manufacturing, where we talked about remote control of fleets. What do you guys do if your manufacturing solution is aggressively attacked and all of a sudden it's your software who is destroying a manufacturing line, maybe from one of the biggest companies you have in your country? This is the biggest threat that we have in Europe. This is one of the biggest threats which exists right at the moment in the US. This is the biggest threat that we have worldwide at the moment. And as I've told you, I will give you 3 examples. The first was a little bit Amazon is not available and I can't watch my Netflix movie. The second was, whoa, they can blow up a plant. And the third is also something I want to show you, just an idea or give you an idea about the world we're living in. I don't know if anybody of you heard already about Shodan.io. So I see 1 hand, 2 hands, 3 hands. So what is Shodan.io? Who knows Google? Ah, come on, guys. Who knows Bing? Well, that's okay. That's an obvious question. But what is Shodan? What is Shodan.io? Shodan.io is just simply www.shodan.io. It's a page on the internet. And what I can do on this page on the internet, I can look for IoT devices which I could attack. Let's look for NAS systems, network access storage. And I'm traveling a lot, and quite often when I'm alone, when I'm just on my own in a hotel room in the evening, it's a lot of fun to look for network access storage in the area and just check the private pictures of all the guys in that area. Because this is super simple here. So I just looked for NAS, and I have now one in Poland, I have one in France, here is one in Austria, our friendly neighbors. Let's have a look what those guys are doing. So this is a pretty lockdown, but he's giving me already an RSync and an open TCP port, and it's also giving me a good idea what operating system it is running. The next step is, let me look the vulnerability up for that specific device. And if I log on to Shodan, they give me all the list with all the malware, with all the vulnerabilities of this device. I just have to click on it, then I start an attack against this NAS, and most probably after 5 to 10 minutes I have access to this NAS, without doing anything special, without being a hacker, without knowing exactly what I'm doing. It's just by clicking a little bit, searching for something, and then clicking somewhere. Let me show you another example. This is something I showed to the team today, where we already talked a little bit about threats. This is also a company, it's called Quadranet, and here I can query the open ports, what they have, publicly available on the internet. Oh, yeah, sure. Sorry for that, let me zoom in. So here I can see what open ports they have. So they have 21, 22, 80, 443, 445, 667, and that's always the first indication. If you have an endpoint with so many open ports, talk to the security guy there, because maybe he should take some additional lessons. But very interesting what I can find here is, so first of all, a TCP FTP port is open. He already tells me which commands he supports. I have an open SSH endpoint, still good so far. And TCP and secure TCP port, and, scrolling down. And Samba port, what do I have here? A Samba port. TCP 445 SMB is open, and the device, the server, is telling me, oh, by the way, I'm unprotected. Authentication is disabled. Just in case you're interested, I don't ask you for who you are. And then, even worse, what endpoints are unprotected? So it's a printer endpoint, an IRC web server. I would say, okay, what can I do with an unprotected printer endpoint? I can print all kind of funny stuff. Your manager is earning this amount, and your IT admin guy, your security guy, talk to him, and this is an offer for security lessons. The reason is you still have open ports. I can do a lot of fun with that. What is much more frightening is, here is a disk with printer drivers. Open port. I can upload all kind of printer drivers to that specific server of a big enterprise. And for sure, I will not upload the original printer drivers. I will upload somehow modified printer drivers, full of malware, full of keyloggers, and the next morning, when the people go to their office and they switch on their devices, the operating system will reach out to the print server and say, hey guys, hey print server, do you have new driver for me? The print server will say, yes, for sure. Here's the malware. And all of a sudden I have infiltrated a whole enterprise network. Boom. Isn't that frightening? And we have search engines for that. And this is the free, without payment, available search engine. Everybody can go to this search engine and can check out what is going on in the neighborhood. If you have the right, let me say, energy, you can also look out for power plants. You can look out for petrochemical areas. You will see a lot of petrochemical companies who are still have servers which are heartbleed infected. You will see a lot of Siemens S7 servers which do not have the latest and greatest security updates. So this is, in fact, super, super frightening. Oops. Let me make that bigger again. And let me close the magnifier. What do you guys think? Is this frightening? We have search engines which help everybody to go into, to break into security systems. And it's super easy, meanwhile, to do this. And now let's switch the gear a little bit. This is just to give you an idea what is possible, what happened already, and how easy it is to infiltrate a whole enterprise and give the security guy there some hard hours. But let's look into an IoT solution, a typical IoT solution. And we already had during this hack 2 very interesting days about IoT hacking, but a typical IoT solution is always following this pattern. First of all, we have devices. Maybe we just have sensors, which are devices with less compute power, with less data power, with less memory. And those devices are sending their telemetry quite often to a cloud gateway. Then we do our magical artificial intelligence thing, machine learning. We do processing, we store the data, and then we decide, based on that data, maybe a predictive maintenance use case. And now think about predictive maintenance. Everybody talks about predictive maintenance. Let us just infiltrate a couple of those devices and send slightly modified telemetry data. And all by a sudden, the maintenance for a production line is 20% more expensive. Whoa. And if I do this with my biggest competition, all by a sudden the production cost from my biggest competition is going up 20%. If you can say the production cost of my biggest competition is going up for 20%, you're in a good situation. Because maybe it happens the other way around, and maybe you're not even aware of it. You think, whoa, I have this great IoT predictive maintenance solution. Behind the scenes, you're already infiltrated, and your production cost is just going up, and you still think, whoa, I'm doing pretty well. This is IoT. So this is the typical pattern what we have there. Then we can upload batches of files, batches of information. We do command and control, so we stop production if there is something going on, or if we see that maybe a predictive maintenance case is coming, and to not completely destroy the machinery, we maybe shut it down, or we slow down the production. And again, if just a not-so-friendly guy has infiltrated your devices, you still think, whoa, I'm doing the right thing because I'm slowing down my production, otherwise my machinery will break down. The real world is somebody has just fooled your devices and is slowing down your production. And you still think, whoa, I'm doing great. The real news is you are infiltrated, you're hacked. Somebody is destroying your business. Then we have device management, we have the big data processing, and meanwhile we have also the intelligent edge. And I will come back to the intelligent edge a little bit later. But this is a typical IoT scenario, and I would highly, highly encourage everybody of you, when you start an IoT solution, the first thing what you should think of is security. The last thing what you should think is security. And everything in between starts with security means for me. So security, 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 it is important. But how do I do security, especially in an IoT scenario? There is this big question mark. And normally, I get a lot of questions, where is this magic bullet? Give me this magic service. Where can I have this magic security subscription? And if I would be a sales guy, I would now give you my price list and say, okay, order all that stuff and then you're secure. That's a lie. If somebody tells this to you, think twice. Ask him again. Because first of all, there is no magic bullet. There is no silver bullet. There is no magic switch. There is no magic security subscription. There are a lot of good best practices. And if you do these best practices correct, that helps to make your solution more secure. But it will not give you security at all. Because there will be always a smart guy, and maybe it is the smart IT admin that you have fired yesterday because he is no longer reliable and he still knows what you are doing when it comes to security. You just can be better, or you have to try to be better than the bad guys. And how can you do this? What is really a best practice? And now really something where you can start working with. And we inside of Microsoft, especially Microsoft Research, our Microsoft Research department has published a white paper about 7 properties of highly secure devices. And right at the moment I'm just talking about the device side, because the devices are very vulnerable. They are small, quite often they are on the road, they are moving, in a factory floor. The cleaning stuff at the evening or during the night can go to the machinery and can do everything with those machineries. So these 7 properties of highly secure devices is right at the moment just for the devices. But stay with me, I will go back later to the back end, how we can secure this as well. And what is this 7 properties of highly secure devices telling us? So first of all, it is a collection. It's not do A, B, C, D, E, and then you're secure. It's a collection of things, of topics, of properties you have to think of. And we have hardware root of trust. We have defense in depth, small trusted computing, dynamic compartments, certified phase authentication, failure reporting, and renewable security. Those are the 7 properties to think of. It would take me additional 4 hours to go with you deep on all that topics. Therefore, I thought, let's pick one where we can go deep, and where the whole IoT story starts is the hardware root of trust. It is what can I do on the device level to secure my device. And to give you an idea, to fulfill all those 7 properties, we need support from the silicon, really from the device itself. So we need to have on that device, which is collecting the telemetry data, some support for security. We have to have support for security in the operating system, which is running that microcontroller, this small PC, or this sensor. And then we need support from an external endpoint, from a cloud endpoint. Because maybe this small device is now aggressively under attack. If this small device can't tell anybody, hey, I'm attacked, I'm attacked, I'm attacked, please help me, please help me. What should this small guy do if I have a bot farm somewhere, maybe in Asia, maybe in Europe, maybe in the US, who is aggressively attacking this small guy? If he can't tell someone in the cloud, in the web, hey, please help me, block these IPs, block this traffic, because I can't deal with it anymore. This device can be secure as hell, it will still fail. Or this small device, it's a pretty new one, so it has a pretty reasonable BIOS version. IoT, how long is the lifetime of a connected product, of a connected factory floor, of a machine on a connected factory floor? How long is the lifetime of that machine? 15 years? 20 years? At least 10 years. If you have a crappy machine, 5 years. Just collect all the updates that you get for your phones, that you get for your PCs, that you get for your servers within 5 years. Most of them are leaks. Most of them are security updates. This small guy also needs security updates. Maybe because in your software, where you are collecting the data, there is a bug, you have to update your software, or maybe simply the operating system, the TCP stack. Think again, Heartbleed. What was Heartbleed? Heartbleed was a vulnerability in the Linux kernel, in the Linux stack when it comes to encryption. So this small guy also needs to be updated. Who gives you the power to update this small guy? You order this small guy from a silicon company, maybe in Far East, maybe from China, maybe from Taiwan, maybe from the US, maybe from Europe. Who gives you the reliability that in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, that's the lifetime of the machine you are connecting, you still get updates for the operating system of that small guy? So you need to have secure silicon, or the silicon must help you to protect himself. The operating system must help you to think about security, and then you need a strong cloud endpoint with massive, massive capacity to roll out security updates for a very, very long period of time. And if you don't have this, let's talk how you can get this. And don't get me wrong, I don't say you have to fulfill all those 7 principles, all these 7 properties. But what I would like really to ask you is, when you go into an IoT deployment, in an IoT scenario, think about all these 7 points. And make for yourself an educated guess. Give yourself an answer. This is not a threat for me. This is a threat for me, but I can deal with it. I can live with it. Even if it happens, it will not destroy my business. This is a threat. If it happens, it will destroy my business. Let me address this threat. So let's go back to where everything starts, the hardware root of trust. What does hardware root of trust mean? It's a nice marketing word, but let's again think about an IoT scenario which starts with the device. And what is the first fundamental info you need from the device? Any ideas? A device connects to my IoT backend. What is the first thing I want to know from this device? Any ideas? Exactly, token. In other words, who are you? Why do you want to talk to me? Why do you want me telemetry? Who are you, Mr. Device? Do I know you? Do I want to talk to you? Or are you already hijacked? Are you already in a state where I can't trust you anymore? Why do I have here a badge? Because nobody knows me, and this badge authenticates me. And this is really the first thing, what I have to ask the device, who are you, and what can you do? So you want to have a device with a unique identity, and that is cryptographically, and whatever that means. In our days, it's an X509 certificate. Maybe in 5 years, we have quantum processors. And the first second after we have quantum processors, all X509 certificates are unsecure, because then we simply can calculate the necessary certificates, because then we have the necessary compute power. But right at the moment, it would be an X509 maybe certificate or something else. So the key here is, I can't give you a silver bullet, say X509 is the right thing. I just can give you an idea what is right at the moment, the right thing. And then you need this massive update capacity from the cloud. If there is a new vulnerability, if there is a new security threat detected, to update your maybe thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of thousands devices. Think about the premium car manufacturers in Europe. I'm from Germany, so think about a typical premium car manufacturer in Germany. They put 1 million cars on the road per year. If they detect a vulnerability in their cars, they have to update millions of devices, and the best would be in seconds, maybe in minutes, maybe in hours, but they have to update that. This is also something we have to think about it when it comes to the identity of the device. And this is really the fundamental info from the device, the hardware root of trust. I need something on the hardware which allows me to identify that device. The next thing, what I need on that device, this is now the famous Raspberry Pi 3. Who owns a Raspberry Pi, by the way? Everyone. Is this device secure? Why the hell are you using it if it's not secure? Why are you using this Raspberry Pi? How can you control the boot from this device? Because it's a Raspberry Pi, and don't get me wrong again, I'm over-iterating. I'm using this Raspberry Pi as well. Most of my home automation at home is driven by a Raspberry or by a MinoBoard Max. But when it comes to really production, when it comes to professional installations, how can I control that somebody goes to this device, removes the small SD card where the operating system is burned into, and removes it or replaces it with something different, which might look similar for me, because the device is booting, it's loading my software, but all by a sudden I have some software on this device which I can't track anymore. Maybe which sends the telemetry data of my predictive maintenance solution also to my biggest competition, so that they can learn, how have I mechanically engineered my machinery, how do I do my predictive maintenance, and how can my biggest competition modify it, make it better, learn from it, steal it. So I need a secure boot. And the second what I need, or the third what I need from those devices is, I need a mechanism, silicon supported, to double check, is this software, which is running on that device, sensor, computer, small computer, really the software I have approved to be executed there. And this is approved software without compromise functionality that the silicon must help you to do. Does the Raspberry Pi have at least one of those? It doesn't have anything of those. So in Europe, I'm working in a lot of IoT projects where we really started with a Raspberry Pi, with a Banana Pi, with the size of a Raspberry Pi. And that is fair, that is fine, it's maker hardware. But when you go in production, don't even spend a second on thinking that this device goes into production. If you take care about security. If security is not important for you, feel free. But if you think about security, rethink if this is the right device, because you need this silicon support. And again, I'm over-iterating. I know that there is not just greenfield in the world. I know that there is a lot of brownfield where I have devices, and these devices do not have secure boot, and these devices do not have a TPM chip, and these devices do not have secure memory. And stay with me, I have some ideas how we can secure them as well, but I really want to make the point. If you take care about security and think about the first 3 examples that I've shown you, I think you should take care about security. Then think about these 7 principles really at the first. Identity of the device. Let's take this further. Let's go here a little bit deeper, and let me show you a little bit when it comes to Azure, when it comes to Azure IoT, how do we produce such a security? How do we produce identity for a device on the IoT Hub endpoint? And let me go here to the portal, shared access policies. So this is the Azure Portal. I'm pretty sure, or who has not seen the Azure Portal so far? Who is not familiar with the Azure Portal? So everybody has seen it, for sure. So this is the Azure Portal. This is an IoT Hub. IoT Hub is a premium cloud gateway that we use in 99.9% of our IoT solutions, and what we also recommend to use it. And here I have a connection string, more or less an administrator connection string. Here it is. Yeah, I think you can see it. So I can go here, connection string primary. Then I can copy this connection string into some tooling. Here I have the Device Explorer. This is a tool provided by Microsoft, open sourced, which allows you to copy in your connection string and then go to the IoT Hub and see the devices which are already created in this IoT Hub, where you also can create a new device. And let me create a new one. I say here, Mumbai Open IoT Hack, IoT Data Hack. So now, device 01, secure by default. So this is my new device, what I've created, and it is not secure by default, but let me create it. Have I click create? Here it is. Oh, this device already exists. I guess it's too long. It's just the name which is too long. But here it is. So now what I can do is, I can copy the connection string for this selected device. Notepad. Let me show you this connection string. Let me enlarge the font. Let's go for 20. So this is the connection string of that device. Now I have a unique device ID, which tells me this is the IoT Hub the device should connect to. This is the name of the device, and this is this magic shared access key. Behind the scenes, this is a symmetric key, nothing else. It's just a pure symmetric key. And this is information which uniquely identifies the device and which gives the device a unique cryptographic key to do something with it. So I already have now an identity. Normally what I do, and what you see in most of Microsoft's tutorial, how to connect the device to IoT Hub, I take this connection string and copy it somewhere in create device client from connection string in some SDK function. And this is what I have done here. This is just a UWP app. This could be any kind of app. I've chosen UWP because I can deploy it to a Raspberry, I can deploy it to something which runs a Windows 10 IoT Core, and all of a sudden, I have this connection string on my SD card. How easy is it to extract this connection string from this SD card if I have physical access to the device? And think about a connected car scenario. How often is the connected car for maintenance in a repair shop? Every quarter of a year? That means every quarter of a year, you give your key to someone who has physical access to your car. And if he's a little bit smart, he just opens the maintenance door, he opens wherever this device is located, extracts the SD card, copies the SD card, puts the original in again, and then he can fit you. In Germany, I have a company car, a BMW 5 Series. I can remote open that car. My car can autonomously park. The bad guys can do this now also, if they have access to this symmetric key. So that means, all what I want to say here is, if we have this identity, we have to protect the identity. And the question is, how can we protect the identity of that device? And let me go further here. Let's again think, what have we done when we use this tool to create a device in IoT Hub? And what we have done is the following. So we went to the IoT Hub registry, device registry, and in this device registry, we have created two symmetric keys. Then, by copying the connection string, or when I have multiple devices in an IoT Hub, every device has its own crypto material, which is already good. Some of the IoT solutions that I see in the world, they share one single authentication for a group of devices, which is already not that secure anymore. But in IoT Hub, you have your credentials, you have your symmetric keys for every device. Now, what we have done by copying the connection string from IoT Hub, using Device Explorer tooling, we have copied it to the device, to the source code, and now we are using the the SDK inside of this application, which is sending telemetry to IoT Hub, to do something with this symmetric key, to create a shared access signature token, and with this shared access signature token, we can send telemetry to an IoT Hub. That's how authentication is working. I have used here the authentication with symmetric keys. We can also do it with X509 certificates, and we check the thumbprint. We will see this later, and we can also have an authority checking the certificate. But in general, we have a crypto thing. We transfer the crypto thing to the device, and then the device can use this crypto thing, which is stored on the highly secure memory of this device, to connect to the IoT Hub. And it's super easy to fake that, if I have physical access. So this happened. And now the question is, here on the left side on the device, do we have a hardware root of trust? Can we, supported by the silicon, protect this connection tree or the X509 certificate or the symmetric key? And on a Raspberry Pi, no, we can't. It's that simple. Or on devices like a Raspberry Pi, we can't. Well, there are extensions, TPM, secure chips, which can also be plugged into a Raspberry Pi, and then the story is completely different. But at a Raspberry Pi, or I always take the Raspberry Pi just as a synonym of this device class. On devices from this device class, if we do not have secure memory, we can't protect the connection string, the X509 certificate. Or we go for another device, same price class. This is again just a maker device, just like the Raspberry Pi, but this device is an IoT device. And when I say IoT device, I mean this device has silicon-supported hardware root of trust functionality. Here on this small chip, I have a security chip as well. This means I have a storage where I can store the certificate or the connection string or the symmetric key in a secure way. So if anybody gets access to this guy, he can't break into it. He can't not simply remove an SD card because it doesn't have an SD card. Because it has a secure memory chip, a security chip. And what is this security chip? How does it look like? Well, let's go to the web. Let me show you the, oh yeah, skip verification. This is the chip which is on this device. The device itself, it's maker device, it's an MX chip. So this is a Tinker thing from Microsoft. You can buy it everywhere around the corner. But the basic story here is, it has a security chip, and it has this ST-Safe A100 security chip. Let me enlarge that. Oops, this is not what I wanted. Press 11, I do this, and let me go here. Let me make it bigger. So we have on this board an ST-Safe A100